So on today's episode of Baking with Grandpa Jay, we want to talk about the sweetness in life and finding the sweetness of life. And so that's what we want to do. And so what I have is bought some cinnamon rolls here. The hardest thing about making cinnamon rolls, because I've made them from scratch before, is to prep the dough. And it takes about 70 minutes, I think, the last time I did it. So to make this easy and fast, we're using pre-prep dough that we're ready to go already with. We got a pan, then I still got a grease, and we got some country crock that we're going to use to grease the pan. So the first thing you got to do, of course, in finding the sweetness is you got to get out of your comfort zone, get out of your house, go down to your market, whether it be Walmart, Target, whatever it is, Kroger, if you're on the Midwest, and find you something sweet, something that you can put together, something that will just take your mind off of the things going on in the world. And so you see the oven just popped off, so you know that's ready. So what we're going to do next is go ahead and grease this. Make sure our hands are washed and cleaned. Get us a decent amount. And go ahead and grease all the way around the edges. And across the bottom, making sure it's good to go. Making sure it won't stick. Then we'll go ahead and open up our canister here by just tearing off the edges. Let's see, get it here. And my mama always taught us to get a spoon. Press the spoon right in the center of this right here. You should hear a pop. Just like that. There you go. Now we'll go ahead and open this up over our pan, just in case anything falls, we don't lose any. I'll just move this pan a little closer. And we're going to put cinnamon side up on these. I'm just going to get these out. It's not easy. And then we'll get things straightened up. I'm going to take whatever fell, take that out, and go ahead and get these separated next to each other on the pan. I'm going to add a little bit of space to it. That way everybody has room to breathe. And kind of can do their own thing. So this is what it looks like right now. We'll go ahead and set it inside. It's already preheated to 400. Turn on the oven light. Timer. So it says set it to 15 to 17 minutes. ahead and took the icing out, so that way we have it ready. So once it comes out hot, we can ice them. And then just to kind of get the grease off my hands, go ahead and take my paper towel, wipe that off. And we put up our ingredients to make sure that's not melting. And now as we're waiting, we can kind of take care of some other things, like get some coffee would be a good thing to do while we wait. So as the coffee is being made and liqueured, let's go ahead and talk about the sweetness. So we can kind of see that the challenges weren't very many. It was that you had to leave your comfort zone. You had to get out of your house to be able to get to that store that had where the sweetness was. And so usually the sweetness in life is hidden. It's hidden like gold. It's just not out there for everybody to use and abuse, take advantage of, overindulge in. But it's there for everyone that wants to look for it and find it. Because most people will look for things that are not sweet, look for the bitterness in life, look for whatever death and destruction that they can find, and they'll turn to news outlets to do that. Sometimes some clergymen will teach and preach on things that are always negative and bad, so they become newscasters working for the news outlets, but in a church or synagogue setting. So we just need to look for those things. And are the people we listening to sources of sweetness? Because everything from the Lord is sweet. And if you read your Bible or read Torah, you'll find that there's rivers and sweet waters that come out. But there's also bitter waters, which are usually caused by us being discontent or not happy with things, from us complaining about life and just being negative about things around us. Sorry about that. But those are the kind of things that can kind of take away. And so as good parents, we should be looking for things that bring the sweetness in life, looking at things that you're able to, times that you're able to laugh with your kids and watch some comedy shows and things like that, hang around funny people, and be lighthearted yourself, to help them understand that life is sweet, life is good. Yes, other people will always try to bring in the negative, they'll try to bring in the bad, but that's not our goal, that's not our job as parents. Our job is to be like God, who is the sole source of sweetness and delight. Because if you look at what the word Eden meant, it was like a garden of pleasure. So the very first thing God did for us was to create something that was delightful, pleasurable, sweet, lovely, beautiful. And that's how we should always think of God and understand his things. So if it's not sweet, it's not him. So just think on that. And keep life sweet for your children. You gotta get out of comfort zone. You gotta go look for it and put it in the oven. And then pretty soon you'll have it out and you'll be able to taste it yourself. Another consideration is while the sweetness is in the oven and going through its transformation, its change, because we know that bread rises in the heat because of the yeast that's inside of it. The temptation is to open the oven and see how it's doing. And Thankfully, we have modern ovens where you can kind of peek in through the glass. And so I kind of see that as seeing through our spiritual eyes to kind of see how things are going on. And you can kind of see what's going on within there. But what you don't want to do is go ahead and open that up, because it changes the chemical reactions that are going on within the oven and how it's changing the air pressure, the humidity, the density. All of that is all key into making your sweetness come out exactly the way you wanted it to be, or the way it was supposed to be. Okay, so now we got our coffee. We got about 16 seconds left on the timer, and if we look through the spiritual glass window, we should be able to see some golden brown. I don't know how clear it comes into the. Don't need to do 17 because we're gonna be good. Whenever you grab anything hot, make sure you have a towel or some gloves, if you will, some oven mitts. And this is what we look like. Fresh, it's hot. And I always do a touch test. Those seem pretty firm. So I think we're done for that. So the only thing left to do is the icing at the top. I'll turn off my oven and then go ahead and get a plate to set these on. So we got a large plate, and we'll go ahead and start shifting these onto the plate. The other thing this will help it do is cool down for the icing. Because if you put icing on something that's too hot, it just kind of rolls right off. So it's just like in life, if we're angry and you try to give somebody something sweet, they can't receive it. It will just come right off of them because their spirit's not ready yet. So we just got to know about the timing of things, when people are ready, when they're not ready. That way we get the full effect of what we're trying to do. So we got everything transferred now to the plate. Those are looking good and golden brown. Forgot to turn off my oven light. So now we're gonna let this cool a little bit. And I'm gonna ice the way I did in the old days with just a knife. Nowadays we got fancy things and these different icing spreaders and stuff like that, but this is super easy just to put in the dishwasher. So that's why I'm gonna use that. So let's let this cool down a little bit and we'll put on the icing. Okay, now we're back. So these feel, of course, they're not hot anymore. They're kind of lukewarm. So I'll move this out of the way. And we'll take some of this icing and put it on top. Let's do a dab on each one to get things started. That way we make sure there's an even amount of sweetness on each of these. So it's kind of like parenting. You're trying to make sure you're being fair with each of your kids, give them the same amount of time and attention that they need. But you know that will flex, or you'll learn that will flex from time to time, depending on what your children need. And so it may seem like at one week, one day, one moment, one is getting more attention than the other, but then it kind of balances out, because then the next day, the next week, then you switch to the other child. And so with each of them, you give them exactly what they need at that moment in their life, because they're in different times and they have different callings and challenges, and they need you at that moment. And that's the hardest thing to manage as a leader, as a parent, is trying to make sure that you're managing each person and leading them as they should be led, and giving them advice accordingly. That way they're not resenting you or feeling any kind of way. And I can't tell you it's an easy thing. It's more of an art than a science. Baking is more of a science, but putting on the icing is more like an art. And so you can see I'm out of icing, but we have this beautiful result where all the attention's there, pretty much equal on all of them, but they have their unique fingerprint. Each has its unique design, even though they all came out the same can. But when they made it to the plate, the baking process and all that, they each have their own signature, and they're not exact copies. They're organically unique expressions, just like each of us is a unique expression of Jesus Christ. So there you have it. Enough to think about for today. And till next time, see how it tastes. It's good stuff. Enjoy the sweetness.